Hello, I'm live and sweaty. Man, it is hot in the CTX. Look at this mess. This doesn't even look real because I'm sweating. Oh, hello, Terry from Andrews, Texas. Let's get this show going. Is right. This is 90 degrees in the CTX, and as all of you guys know, I don't have air conditioning, and I've been working out, so I am sweaty and hot, and there's no breeze now. Normally, about this time of year, I'd be rolling out the fan. I got a fan that's a Ryobi battery charged fan, but I was using it up at the cottage, and so I don't have a fan down here, and it's hot right now. Yeah, it's probably about 90, and so like right now I look hot and sweaty. I got bags under my eyes from not sleeping very well. My eyes are glassy from allergies, and I'm hungry. And I've been going at it all day. If you've been watching my Facebook, I've been doing a lot of stuff. Hope everybody's doing great out there. Hello from Western Tennessee. Hi, Chris. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Hope your families are safe. Hope everything's going okay. It's been a busy day. This seat is loud, and I'm not situated right. Everything's kind of off, man. Kind of awkward. Hey, while you're here, I'll probably say this about 10 times, but uh, give this video a like. If you're new, subscribe. All right, so it is April 8th, 2020 at 7 p.m. of the Central Time. Hello, Pat. Motion picture. Oh, I thought I said motion bigger. Picture and sound is great. Awesome. Yeah, so I haven't gone anywhere today. Been really getting some work done around here. Got a lot to do. And so, in addition to the workouts, I've been taking care of animals and um, actually did some of my own laundry today. Um, just we got so much to do. It's crazy, and I got to start working on the gardens probably tomorrow. It's supposed to cool off a little bit. So today was just hot, but it was sunny. We got a lot of solar power. Everything's good. Hope everything's good where you are. All right. So our topic today, the biggest fallacy. And so one of the things I've noted quite a bit over the last week or so of shows is that people seem to be oblivious of any, just like they were before all of this. Of course, nothing's changed, but they're oblivious of all the signs. And so it's like everything. I, I did a whole post years ago about basically this being a generation or several generations now of people with dementia in a way that every day is brand new. It's like nothing ever happened before today. And that's kind of going to be the topic of what we're going to talk about. We talked about normalcy bias back a few shows ago. So, hello, Mrs. H. We're going to talk a little bit about normalcy bias, but we're going to go one step further. And so it's almost like with the masked man, that the masked man wakes up every day and everything is whatever is told to them that day, that's the new reality. And so it's interesting because as I was watching this whole political dialectic go on over the last few years, hello, Mary from Oregon. It's interesting that the sides would on a different topic they would just switch. So every argument that they were making 3 months ago about this topic, now it was shoes on the other foot. Now they were making the same argument the other side was making, and they both switched, and they were both accusing the other side of being hypocrites. So it was like the fingers were going like this, and they're like hypocrite. And so I would post, don't you realize when you just switch sides with the other side and you're calling them a hypocrite that also applies to you? But the point that I was making was that it was like almost like a people with completely devoid or bereft of any institutional memory. Like like every day they woke up and it was like an episode of Black Mirror. They just they were wiped clean, and so you could tell them anything, And some of us lived through stuff, so it's just like the last century, you know. Uh, I wasn't alive for all of the last century, but I was alive for part of it from 1967 forward. And all of a sudden, like we woke up and everybody's like, communism's good. What where were you during the last century? Where were you? Where were you? It was all like, wow, it just wasn't tried, right? You know, but and that's just one issue, but it's like all across the board. It's like everything that's been tried and it's written about in books, you can they hide stuff like that in books. So there was as I was thinking about this topic, I know we've covered normalcy bias, and if you are new, you can always go back and watch the video on normalcy bias, but I'll cover it for you real quickly. Basically, normalcy bias is the idea that things are going to revert back to a normal, that normal that you expect. And so, because of that, people will not take disasters, danger, or peril very seriously because for the minutest uh, length of their life, which is like a blip in the history of the world, um, things have been a certain way. And so, during your life, you've flipped on a switch, a light has come on. You've turned on the faucet, water has come out. There might have been a few little times when it didn't happen, but you expect it to come back on. And so you have really no concept of the fact that for almost all of the history of the world, for billions and billions and billions of people, that never happened ever. That would be considered magic or a miracle for most of everybody that ever lived. If you lined them all, if you got everybody that ever lived and you sat them here and you flipped on a light switch, half of them would just go berserk. They would have no idea what that was. But for the infinitesimal period of your life, that's the way it works. And so you have an automatic bias that thinks that, well, that's always going to be that way. And the fact is, it hasn't even always been that way. Even during some of our life, the internet has become ubiquitous. It's everywhere. Everybody, we have. I think we're in our second generation now of people that it's always been here. And so, even though for some of us half of our life was lived without it, we were full-grown adults with children before we ever really like started to participate on it with any regularity. For these new generations, the whole idea of not having an internet is beyond their ability. If you can't have experienced something, it's very difficult to ever imagine. So that's what normalcy bias is. 99.9% of people, which is a number that you say, even though no one did any testing, um, go through life thinking that what they're experiencing is normal and not realizing that what they're really experiencing is miraculous. It's magical. The fact that a street lamp exists is miraculous and magical, because for most of the history of the world, it did not exist. The infrastructure that it took, the building up of centuries of civilization for a street lamp that nobody thinks about. I mean, there's probably a guy that works in city works who thinks about it, but nobody else thinks about it. You walk right by it and it's there and it's always on. That those assumptions are all based on a infinitely small data set that is your life. And so very few people have the ability and so I use this term, and if you've been following me on Facebook for years, you've heard me say it. Woo! And that is, I call him the mass man. For the mass man, they don't have the capacity to conceive of the history of civilization. So they discuss things, and they discuss, I just mentioned they discuss herd immunity, or they discuss the coronavirus, or they discuss the elements. I got into a debate with a guy the other day, and he was going on about um, social contracts with no concept of any history of the books that you really need to read to have a foundation of what even social contracts are, and the history of the foundation of American Republic based around social contracts. And so, you have the mass man, and he just goes forward and he gets new data, and it's like a robot that just got turned on every day, and you could tell him anything. You could seriously tell him anything. This is thus fake news, and so that's my quick recap of normalcy bias, and that is the tendency to think that nothing bad will happen because whatever the bad thing is not normal. You see, it's normal for civilizations to collapse. It's normal for there to be massive warfare on every continent. I mean, warfare didn't start with North America or Europe. It's normal for entire people groups to be wiped out in war and through disease and through. What is not normal is this tiny little window of experiment that we've had in not just what we call self-government, but but in enough prosperity that that prosperity has been exported to the whole world, such that even what we would call third world nations, they have cell phones, they have cell phone towers, they have, many of them have things that the civilization didn't pass through to have those things. In other words, for a lot of civilizations, they had to pass through 1,000 years of invention, of warfare, of urbanization, technicism, all of these things for these things to exist. And these other civilizations that they didn't pass through those things have just existed. They just became. And now you have generations who have not passed through the education that it took. Uh, Take a little aside here. You realize when James Madison was in school, he started college when he was about 14 years old. In order to be accepted, I think it's either accepted or graduate. I think it was to be accepted into the university. You had to stand in front of a panel of people, and they could ask you any question about any book in existence, and you needed to be able to answer them in 3 languages. It was possible to at least have a cursory knowledge of pretty much anything of import. That the term university meant something that it means the opposite of now. The term university means it's a universe of thought, a one development of thought. So it was to bring people from the farms, bring people from other little towns and villages to one place, and then teach them the things that civilization agrees on, so that they are a universe. It's a uni. It's a united thing. What that became, especially over the last 20 or 30 years, is diversity. In other words, you go to college to not to be unified in knowledge or to be unified in the knowledge of science, history, but diversity, which is everybody just has their own history. Everybody has their own facts. Everybody has their own whatever it is. And so you go to a university now to be diversified. And so at the time, if you got into the university, you were pretty well knowledgeable about anything that was considered literature. And I understand that nowadays this is going to be called Western European privilege or something like that. But that civilization, however brutal, and all civilizations were brutal, it basically created a superstructure or a infrastructure that allowed for things to exist now that are purely and completely magical. It is miraculous to be able to look at things that exist now that just and our entire survival infrastructure, the infrastructure that keeps billions of people alive, is hanging on nothing. It's starting on the second floor. It's like it's got no first floor. And so normalcy bias, again, real quickly, is the idea that you can everything's going to go back to some sense of normal. What we're going to talk about today is the ceteris paribus fallacy. You won't find this most places because I'm the one that I use it. I've used it for years. It's very much like the normalcy bias, but it's a little bit different. And the basic concept of ceteris paribus fallacy is going forward. So the normalcy bias is we're going to return to some sense of normal. The ceteris paribus fallacy fits with that, and basically it's the idea that the foundational concepts, the superstructure or infrastructure of the decisions that we're making are built on nothing. They're built. The word ceteris paribus, or the phrase, means all things being equal, which means it's the concept that things will remain the same. So normalcy bias, we're going to return to some idea of normal. Ceteris paribus idea is that because the assumptions that we're making are going to carry forward. All right. And so that's the thing that I'm seeing when I'm reading the news. And I don't watch mainstream news at all. I said one of these days I'm going to do a video on how to gather news without watching Fox or MSNBC or any of those things. But when people are making decisions now, they're making decisions based on things that are fundamentally not true. And so the idea, and I've heard this 1,000 times since I really started talking about just in time way back 2011. There's a whole chapter in here on just-in-time delivery of goods and services, which is a concept in economics and merchandising where you want things to appear just as they're needed. So it saves a lot in efficiency, allows you to bulk buy without having to have massive amount of storage and more employees and all these things. And everybody says it's great until it's not. And this is something I pointed out in 2011, that there were too many elements that relied on just-in-time delivery of goods and services, and there were too many fallacies built in, even to preparedness and apocalyptic books. That one of the fallacies that I was challenging back in the early 2000s was that there's 3 days supply of food in the supply chain. That is true, ceteris paribus, all things remaining equal. There are too many things that can change radically that would make that not true. And what we saw, particularly with toilet paper, and we're starting to see it with some other items, is the minute that something happens, that radically changes and it's not true anymore. And so is it safer to make the assumption that it's not going to be true going forward, or that it is going to be true going forward? So a foundation of stability. I'm not even talking, and again, I'm not talking about people moving off grid, getting a farm, all this kind of stuff. The foundation of stability for your family, for your community, for your neighborhood, or whatever, is suspended on a concept that is only true at the moment that everything remains the same. And so let's look at money. What we call money today is actually a representation of the good faith and goodwill, or whatever, of whatever people think about the United States government and its ability to pay its debts. And so that's what the entire economy and everything is suspended on. It's suspended on this idea that we're all, it's like a musical chairs. We're all, you don't want to keep it for too long. And if you do, you want it in something. And we're all just exchanging these pieces of paper. The value of them is supposed to represent the hours and the minutes and the seconds of your life. So if you take $1 and you make $10 an hour, that $1 represents 1/10 of 1 hour of your life. That's what it's supposed to represent. And so there are policies that are being made outside of your ability to have anything to do with them, outside of the electoral process, about how many of those dollars are out there, who's buying them from who, arbitrage, people, all kinds of things going on. But we all pretend that somehow it's always going to be there. When I get $25 and I go, oh, I'm going to run to town, I'm assuming that when I get there, that $25 is going to buy a certain amount of value. And we have seen historically all over the world different epochs of time where that has not been true. Zimbabwe, pre-Nazi Germany, just Mexico, Venezuela, any number of places where there's been a massive collapse of the currency, that those dollars become useless. And so there's been an assumption by a lot of people that we're going to have a massive inflationary period because they're printing so much money and they're giving everybody $1,200. And then I saw somebody today, guy I respect, is saying it's not going to be inflationary because, and their reasons, hashtag reasons, it's already inflationary. It's already inflationary. I mean, it's anecdotal, but it's people that I know and trust who go check things out. A lot of stores are already reporting $1 per item, or people are reporting from stores that their prices have gone up already. But it's not just prices. There's a scam and a game that goes on with all of this stuff. Go try to buy a pound of coffee. In 2002, when we were buying some stuff to store up some to make sure we had some, I think it was 2002, 2001, something like that. You could go to the store and you could buy one of those 1 pound bricks of coffee. They're not a pound anymore. They're like 12 ounces. They have beers at Aldi that are 11.2 ounces. The packaging of almost everything has shrunk significantly, but the price stayed the same. This is another way that inflation affects you. Another way that inflation affects you is if the items that, maybe the item has remained at the same price, but it's just never available. So you have these dollars, but those dollars are not representing what it is that you intend to get from those dollars. So your hours and minutes of your secular life, for the most part, for the things that you need, have no real value. You exchanged them, you gave the work, supposedly. I have no idea, and now you're trying to exchange them for goods that don't exist. And so, the biggest fallacy out there is the assumption, and there's a whole slew of assumptions, that going forward, the decisions that we've made, on which we've hung our safety, our security, our freedom, our liberty, all of these things, are going to continue. Those assumptions are valid. And if we actually took those assumptions and examined them one at a time, they're only valid as long as we all agree that they're valid. In other words, everybody's looking at each other to see who's going to jump. This is true of countries, and this is true of individuals. This is true of communities. This is true of states. And so, in times past, when those assumptions begin to domino, then you have worse things that happen. So, again, and I try to say this all the time, I'm not talking about coronavirus because I don't know anything about coronavirus. I'm not an expert. I'm talking about trying to show you how to think, so that when you're making decisions now, you're making decisions about where you're going to put your resources. You're making decisions about what you're going to do. A lot of us are sitting at home and we're concerned about what things are going to be available. Are you going to be even be able to go to town again? I was talking to someone today, and they were talking about going and having to deliver their elderly parents things without making any contact with them, and pick things up and all those kind of things. Uh, give you an example of what I'm talking about with the ceteris paribus fallacy. The entire civilization built on this superstructure has moved from the office to the home. So we're doing things like Zoom, we're doing things like FaceTime, we're doing things like Skype, we're doing things like what we're doing right now. A whole lot of people looking at a screen during the day, and their business is crawling forward, but it's all foundational on that. At the same time, people are making financial decisions about money that's their retirement, that's in the bank, and all these kind of things. Those assumptions are all based on the fact that this technical infrastructure is going to remain solvent, is going to remain here. So, I could have a conversation with somebody, and I can say, "Listen, I'm doing YouTube. I'm helping people out. I'm answering calls. I'm doing interviews. Set up another interview today for next week. I'm doing all of these things." Well, does that get you any money? Not really. I think, yeah, today I got a $25 donation So I got $25. But I'm still operating under the assumption that those things are going to continue. So I get paid for my books. It's not a lot of money, but on the around the first of the month, I get small amount of money for my book sales. I get a little bit of money here and there from different things, audiobooks and stuff like that. But I'm making assumptions that that money is going to continue. And you're making assumptions based on those things. People have been furloughed, people have lost their jobs. Now they're kind of asking questions about where this is. At the same time, maybe you have a bunch of money in the bank, but it's in the bank. Is there historical proof of banks becoming insolvent overnight? The money's not there, right? So the It's a Wonderful Life thing, right? No, your money's not here. It's with him. It's with him. It's, the bankers have. We invested that in uh, investment trusts and the real estate stuff. And so we're all making these assumptions. And so what I'm trying to do is get us all, and I'm one of them, and I've done this for the last 15 years of my life, which is to ask questions. Ask questions and go, okay, how will I do this if this infrastructure thing is not here? How will I do this project? How will I do this thing that's necessary for my life and my stability and my family if for some reason the the thing that I've counted on being here is not here? And so this is how you make decisions. It's kind of like the old game you used to play. It's called a good news, bad news, right? Um, I don't know if any of you guys remember. Unable to connect to chat. Uh-oh, I've been off the chat for a while. Let me see if I can pull this thing out. Hold on just a minute. There's all kinds of stuff been going on. I'll come check the messages in a minute. So hold on. So sorry about that. I didn't even realize that there's somehow that for some reason the chat had stopped working. So you know, the good news, bad news thing is though you're like, and I'll have to make this up off the top of my head because I hadn't thought about it. But it's like, hey, Dad, the good news is that, or the bad news is that all communications are down, the internet's down, everything's not working. The good news is that my phone powered up. Bad news is that there's no one to call because the phone lines are down. The good news is that I actually got a text, so someone's able to communicate. Bad news is the bad guys. The good news is it's going to take them 30 minutes to get here. The bad news is that I got the message 25 minutes ago. The whole game is really just an assumption or an exercise in examining the assumptions of what's good and what's bad and all that. Hello, Russ from Ohio. Hello, Kyle from Perth, Australia, via Fort Lauderdale. All right. Hey, John. I'm not interrupting now. I'm just kind of trying to say hi, Linda. Hi, everybody. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I didn't mean for this to be some type of I don't know if this is a philosophical rant or a philosophical treatise. What would you call it? Put it in the comments section. And I know sometimes you hear these things, you're like, I'm not sharing this. It's just an old guy just rambling on about the history of civilization and Western civilization and whatnot. But the whole point is that you have to make decisions today. You have to make decisions tomorrow. You got to make decisions the next week. You're watching the news or you're getting your news from somewhere, and you have certain amount of built-in assumptions that you never question. You just never question them. And the time is now to question those assumptions. Yeah, it's a wake-up call. It is. And I wanted it to be more exciting and more interactional, more relational. So, hey, you guys, if you're out there, hello, Heidi. Put in your questions and comments right now. Let's get this a little bit more upbeat. I hope that helped you. I hope it helped you understand a little bit about how things actually work. Hello, Kirk. Glad to see you guys. Glad you made it. Anybody that got here late, you do want to go back and listen to this. It's about 30 minutes of stuff that you probably should know about. And hopefully, here's another thing I wanted to tell you guys. First of all, if you're on here, please go give this thing a thumbs up. Do it on all the videos. It's just one of the few things that I get out of it. I'm not getting any money out of it, but giving it a thumbs up helps with the algorithm and the whatnots. And so it helps YouTube decide whether they want to share this with other people and a bunch of computer stuff. And so the other thing is if you're new here, if you're watching this, if you're watching it after it was live and you're like, what in the hell is going on here? Just subscribe. There's tons of good stuff on this channel. There's how to do stuff. Oh, by the way, you guys, yesterday's program, I lit the fat lamp again. So this is the third night I've lit the fat lamp, and I'm still going. I started with 1 inch of lard, the lard lamp, and I've probably had it going over an hour each night. And this is with the smaller wick. I've got some bigger wicks that I'm going to do when I do my video on the lard lamp, but I just wanted to show you it's been going the whole time I've been talking, even before that. So I let it go. I've been let it go like an hour a night or more, and it just went out. I blew it out on accident. How can those of us locked in town work toward a more agrarian lifestyle? We have been planning and trying to learn all we can so that we will be ready when the opportunity presents itself. Well, that's what you can do, and that's the main thing you can do. The other thing is in my 7 things people should be doing right now. Watch the video. Go back about three videos. Did a video called "What You Should Be Doing." 7 things you should be doing right now, and one of those is make friends with an off-grid farmer, or not an off-grid farmer, but a farmer or a small producer, small-scale producer, and then help them on your free time. Yeah, we're going to do a video on lard lamps. I've got a bunch of videos planned. Today, I got up at my normal 3:30. Did my exercise, did my workouts, and I have been working nonstop. I have not slowed down since 3:30, and it is now 7:30, which is my bedtime. And so I am exhausted, and it's been hot all day. So I'm trying to post pictures and stuff of everything that's going on, but it's been watched the video several times and I've shared it. No small producers in the oil field. That's true. I'm hearing something. Maybe that's my computer got hot. The fan kicked on. Hello, Nahalil Park Homestead, east coast of Australia. Where Australia is well represented here today. Appreciate you guys. So like the video, subscribe, click the bell icon and tell me you want all the alerts, because by the way, if something happens and I'm here and I'm available to do it, I may come on live and just talk about things in the moment, because if there's advice I can give you or counsel I can give you, I want to do it. So check out the description of this video when you get done too, because there's links down there that could be helpful to you. I'm not getting off quite yet. We've only been here 32 minutes, but if you have questions or comments, now's a good time to put them in. I'm sorry my chair is so loud too. Hey, you guys have probably seen this before, but it's my shirt with my face on it. It's my old face, my fatter face, but bigger beard, and then it says bunker on it. I was told by the guy who gave me this, sent it to me, that I can wear it if I wear it ironically. So I'm just like pretending like I'm somebody else watching this. I'm like, this guy, hair's all akimbo, sweating, living the life. Our local butcher gives us tallow for free. Nice. We use it to make soap and mason jar candles nearly free. That's great. That's great. Other people probably ought to maybe check out with the butcher, see what they can get. I know they keep most of the lard because they use it for making sausage, and they keep back a lot of that. But if you can get it, I got to do another trim. If you can get it, that's great. If you got any questions or comments, now's a good time to get those in there, because like I said, it's past my bedtime. So we talked about ceteris paribus fallacy, which is, kind of going forward, normalcy bias going backwards. We talked about the fact that, a couple people told me that there's some evidence of some power outages that have happened that are not particularly normal. I heard some of that today. Not just passing on gossip, but if it's somebody that I generally trust what they're reporting, then I'll share it with you. And so I haven't been to town for since the day before yesterday, so I would never know if the power went out unless somebody told me, or if the internet went down, because I don't take power out here, and it's wireless from here. But so I suppose if the power went out in town and they didn't have the backup generator, that where they shoot the internet to me from the mountain back over there wirelessly. Major internet outage all over Houston today. Yeah, I've been hearing a little bit of that, and there's going to be more of that. Basically, both the internet and the power infrastructure are like rubber bands, and they've been designed to stretch and to absorb some not normal usage. But we basically they are afraid to their limit, and they're being stretched beyond their limit because so many people are online, so many people are doing Zoom, doing video like this, and there are fewer and fewer people available to work because of people getting sick. Right? How close are you on YouTube hours? Thanks for asking. Been watching quite a few lately. As of me going on here, we were at like 3,300 hours. We got to hit 4,000 hours, so about 700 more watch hours, which should not hopefully take that long. Um, we went over 200,000 minutes, so I think it takes 240,000 minutes. 240,000 minutes. So we need 40,000 more minutes of watch hours. So there's basically two ways. The main two ways that you qualify to be monetized is you got to have 4,000 hours watch time within a 365-day moving window, and you have to have 1,000 subscribers. Well, we went over 1,000 subscribers, and I think we added 30 or 40 today, and that's great. If you know people, let them know that basically they can find out what's going to be going on, and they can anticipate things if they're watching this channel and they're watching these videos. Any opinion on this 5G conspiracies? I've been looking into it. I have severe doubts because from what I can tell, there's 184 countries with coronavirus and only 5 that have 5G towers. My main thing is that having orbited. Let me tell you this. I want to start by saying this. I am not a coincidence theorist because I don't have enough faith for that. I believe in conspiracies. I don't believe in all of them, but I believe that most of the history of the world has a conspiratorial basis. And so all we have to do is look at the judgment and crucifixion of Christ, the conspiracy that went on there. I mean, the rise of the Nazis, getting uh, getting Lenin to Zurich, or from Zurich to Russia in 1917, when there's he had to pass through Germany that was at war with Russia to get him there. Conspiracies happen all the time. And I'm not gonna be able to get this book back in this bookshelf. Hold on just a second. This is important. This is important stuff right here. And so conspiracies happen all the time, but I have been orbited around the conspiracy movement since around 1997. I had very, very close interactions with it. 99.5% of the time, it's absolute hogwash. But I know how they're built. I know how a conspiracy theory is built, and usually there's 99% or random number that people throw out is good information. There's actually real things that are going on, but then you add in these logic fallacies, and so I am not a scientist. I don't know anything about what 5G does to the human body. I have no idea any of that stuff. But there are clues when you're watching something that you know that somebody has built a conspiracy theory based on vapor. So you have all these things that are real, and then you throw in these one or two elements, and you're like, this is what's causing this. And the connection is actually never really made reasonably. So I am not dissing conspiracy theories. I believe a whole lot of them. Here's my problem with the conspiracy theorist and the anti-conspiracy theorist. They do not have a healthy enough ego to admit when they don't know something. They just don't have it. And they get angry when they don't know anything. I mentioned this in a video, I think 2 videos ago. Somebody was saying, oh, all these conspiracy theories about coronavirus, but we all know that this just happened and a guy ate a bat. Bam, bam, bam. I said, it takes a really, really distended ego to even think that you know that. You don't know that either. You don't know anything other than what you've been told. You've made some reasonable assumptions, maybe. I find that anti-conspiracy theorists are anti-science generally. They are anti-reason. They're anti-logic. They absolutely are spoon-fed anything, and they absolutely believe it. Go back and watch the reactions of people during the shooting of up at Ruby Ridge. You know, go back just more recently, the one in Montana, where the farmers got into it with the feds out there and they killed that guy. And then you heard all the they did this, and then the juries found out none of that was true. The juries in the Randy Weaver case uh, not only acquitted for the most part, except for a couple of small charges, but they found out the FBI and the ATF were negligent. But if you even mention those things, you're a conspiracy theorist, right? So the anti-conspiracy theorists are anti-facts, they're anti-fallacy. I mean, they base their thoughts on fallacies. But the conspiracy theorists are the same way. You can't reason with them. Almost never. You can never go, because it's a closed loop, right? If you come and tell me that Operation Jade Helm is actually the next thing that the New World Order is doing to take over, and we're all going to get stuck in a Walmart parking lot with the chains around us, and if you're telling me that before it's supposed to happen, and I go, I don't believe that, because it doesn't make any sense. You're already enslaved. You are already enslaved. Why would anybody, any tyrant, he already had you eating his food. He's already got you doing what he wants you to do. He's already got you voting between two of the exact same halves of the same party. He's got you paying more than you're receiving back in taxes, but glad to get it back, even though it was yours to begin with. He's already got everything. He's got everything. He's got you. He's taken your grain and fed you back enriched flour, which actually has everything taken out of it. So it took out hundreds and hundreds of minerals and all that stuff, and he gave you 14 back, and then you call it enriched flour. You just ate that up. I'm talking about you as the mass man, right? What world is it that you think that they want that they don't already have? Right? I've heard these stories. Oh, they're gonna put us all on a grid, and we're all going to be just slaves. Well, you already are. Look at you. So I've never gone along with those conspiracies, just because the stuff that they say they want to do, they've already done it. And so my problem with the 5G thing is it just doesn't make any sense. I cannot fathom, and I'm not saying that they're not lying, and I'm not saying that there isn't something going on. Me and people that I'm very close to disagree on things. One of the things that always got me was chemtrails. Not because I don't think, first of all, are they evil enough to do it? Yes. Do they have the technology to do it? Yeah. Is there some weird stuff going on? It's hard to explain. Yes. And we have pictures of aircraft spraying stuff. Yes, there is. Those things exist. But to the end of what they're saying, I don't buy it, because I don't understand. If you already have mosquito trucks driving down every street in every town in America spraying stuff, why not spray stuff at ground level? Why spray stuff at 40,000 feet when and I've heard all of it. I've heard, well, they're changing everything to alkaline. They're changing. It's just a really inefficient way to accomplish whatever it is. And then when it gets down to it, whatever it is you think they're trying to do, they've already done it. They've already poisoned you with your food. They've already sold you chemicals from Monsanto and all this stuff that's in everything you eat. They've already demineralized, and the food that you eat has no nutritive value. Do you know much? Yeah, here's what's happened is I've gotten off on conspiracies and I don't want to because what happens is I'm going to alienate people when that's not what I'm here for. What I'm really here to do is talk about what people should be doing. And so I don't, yeah, I know all about vaccinations and autism. I've studied it all, and we made our own decisions for our own children. But I don't want to get into because if I answer that one, then I got to get into another one. Then I got to get into another one. And my basic thing is this, and I've said this almost on every video: the government will and is lying to you. The conspiracy theorists will and are lying to you. The media will and is lying to you, and you have to operate in that environment. You don't know anything other than what you're being told, and you have to operate. So how do you operate? That's what my book is about, and that's what this show is about. What's the most free place you know about? The most free place you know about is in here. That's where it starts. I think you're talking about a geographical location. I think you can be free in different places based on your needs. Real freedom is a lack of real freedom to me defined is a lack of necessity of outside um, material, outside pressure, outside demands in order to survive and thrive. I'm pretty free out here, just because the county we live in is lowly populated. The people are generally left alone. I don't have to have a permit to build. I can build anything I want anytime I want. I can shoot off my front porch. I can shoot out my back window. I can, you know, uh, there are certain laws that affect me. Some of them I think are good. Some of them I think are not so good. Um, are there things I would like to be better? Yeah, I wish Texas had open carry. I wish uh, we didn't have to. I wish when harm was done to Texans by corporations in California, that there wouldn't be laws written that protect the corporations where you have to go sue them there. If the damage is done in this county, I think this county ought to have the right to deal with those things. There's a lot of things I would change, but those things there's positives and negatives to everywhere. There's some places I would never live in a million years, and I don't know why anybody lives there. So when somebody tells me about children being taken in Oregon or New York or and things like that, just because the parents don't agree philosophically with certain things being taught in schools or whatever, those are places I would never go. I would never subject my family to those places. Um, what happens very quickly, though, both Kirk and Kyle or Kate, is that we're devolving into a discussion that was not really what this is about. And so what this is really about is about the way that you think and the way you think. I've asked people for 15 years to look at where they live and go, okay, are you not allowed to catch water that falls from God? Why are you living there? But I've learned that that just pisses people off. That's just like saying, I got into a conversation on Facebook in a group, and it was a bunch of people, and they were going around and around and around about how horrible the public school was, and how the public school was teaching this, the public school was teaching that, and I said, why are your children in there? They said, well, they have to go to school. This goes to our ceteris paribus fallacy. No, they don't. And then I got absolutely, it was like hyenas, man. All of them turned on me because I questioned whether or not they even had to send their children to school. It wasn't just homeschooling, but I dared to mention the fact that they were where they're living where they're living. There's kids, their children are in public school being taught things the opposite of what they believe, and they all of that was based on decisions that that family had made that were economic. So before I opened my mouth, they were saying their children were being damaged and harmed in this school. And I told them, yet they're in there because you made an economic decision. And they admitted it without admitting it. They would say, well, I have to work. My wife has to work. It takes both of us to work. We didn't get to talking about how many cell phones that they were paying for, their cable bill, their Hulu bill, their Netflix bill, two cars, insurance, Simply Safe home security, mortgage payment. And so they got madder and madder and madder and madder. And I said, my family moved out into the country and we lived as absolute paupers. We dug a hole, we put an outhouse over it. We don't have running water. We don't have air. I'm sweating right now because we don't have air conditioning. This was an economic decision that I made to live uncomfortably for a lot of years so that my children were not being handed over to hirelings to teach them something I don't believe in. Now, I didn't judge any of those people. I just took what they said and I said, and so what I'm going back to is that there were assumptions that are made all along, and people don't like it when you point out that their assumptions are based on economic decisions that they've made. It was better for them to have ready available water coming through the pipes, electricity, air conditioning, Hulu, Simply Safe, pizza delivery, new clothes every once in a while, nice car, neighbors, homeowners association, treadmill, gym membership, go on and on and on. Those things were worth the exchange. And so I'm not the bad guy for just pointing out that that was a decision that you made. That's what we do every day. And I'm just as guilty as anybody else of making decisions that were not good, that I wish I had made better. But anyways, enough of that. I've probably pissed off every single person in this room and everybody that's going to watch this going forward. So I cannot wait to see the comments. By the way, I heavily vet the comments. I'm not like any other YouTuber. I just I don't have time. I've been doing this for a long, long time, and people that just chirp, I just delete the comments. If you want to talk to me, you can always contact me, and I'm here live and all this other kind of stuff. Hey guys, it's time to go. It's 52 minutes, and I'm trying to keep these things under an hour. Yeah, I do agree with you almost 100%. You got to withhold that 1 or 2%, right? You got to withhold that. Otherwise, you're not a free thinking free agent. All right, y'all. Appreciate however many of you are here. Last time I'm going to ask you during this video, please give this thing a thumbs up, subscribe, share, comment. Even if you haven't commented at all, comment in there. And if you can, help a brother out, go down in the comment and in the description. There's a support button. You can click on it and you can send some drachmas, some kopecks, some dinars, some dollars to help out so I can keep doing this. And I appreciate that because I'm not monetized. It's the only way to do it. All right, y'all. Appreciate you guys. Love you, and I'll talk to you soon.